write your obituary through the people you affect in life. You don't write that yourself. You write that by how you live, how you treat people, how you were as a person. And that's how you be remembered. So how do you want to be remembered when you pass away? Do you want to be the person that made bad choices, was not there for your children, lived a self-destructive lifestyle? Or do you want to be the person that took life seriously, left a legacy for your children and your family? Someone they can say they're proud to have your last name.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Coach Track podcast. This week, me and Dan Williams are very fortunate to be joined by an amazing coach, King Kevin Crockrom. Kevin, I'd love to know a little bit more about your story, a little bit more about what got you into coaching. And first of all, thank you so much for joining us today, all the way from Vegas.
Yeah, Greg and Dan, appreciate y'all for having me on here, man. I was looking forward to this, all week. We tried to talk before and we kind of got us, minds mixed up with the time difference and everything, but I am so appreciative that we were able to get together. And I want to thank you guys for having me on your platform. Like Greg was saying, my name is King Kev, 40 plus and free. I'm born and raised here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm a life coach, also a motivational speaker. The way I got into this field was former basketball player. I played overseas. I played in Brazil, played in Uruguay, played in Scotland, played in a few places, Mexico, to name a few. And once I got done with that, I went into the world of bartending here in Las Vegas, which was a pretty good profession. I made decent money. It was cool, but the lifestyle was not for me. I kind of crashed and burned in that world. I did it for a while, but in the midst of that, I became a basketball coach as well. I had my own AAU program here with my cousin called the Las Vegas Punishers. So we had that going on here for a while. It was pretty successful. We had kids go to college. We have current players in college right now still playing. And we did that for a while. So that was like my introduction to coaching, for me to really inspire and be a mentor to players and the youth and kids like that. So that was one of the things that opened my mind up to me being a life coach. I've been doing it the whole entire time. These kids still call me to this day, about advice or having trouble with school or having trouble with the mental aspect of dealing with college and being away from home, dealing with finances, the pressures of, to perform. And now with NIL, it's a whole different ball game with that. So that's what I was doing with that. And then fast forward, I pretty much had to get out of bartending. It was the best. It almost killed me. It almost cost me my life. It almost cost me my marriage. It almost cost me my family. So what I decided to do was work on myself and, learn self-mastery and control my impulses. And that's what got me into life coaching now, because I did it for myself and I want to be able to help other people master their emotions and master themselves and get their impulses under control. That's a little bit of background on me, man. But yeah, I'm very passionate about this. I love it. I love what you guys have going on here. And like I said, it's my calling. I really do think that's what I'm here for. And that's the final chapters of my life will be all about helping people master their lives and master themselves. That's what I have going on here.
Kevin, I love that. Thank you so much. And I love the way that you call it a calling. For me personally, you can't lead others down a path if you haven't walked it yourself. And I think it's so great to be open, talk about those vulnerabilities, what you've gone through. And obviously people relate to that and they resonate. And that's what Dan could talk all day about, is creating a marketing message or creating a coaching message which people relate to. I also like that thought of maybe, like what a star seed is. Some people have got that gift of the gab. Some people have got that ability to help nurture others. I used to run a junior football team. You run a junior basketball team. It's the same sort of skills, isn't it? Yeah. And then that goes
It
inside
is.
coaching. Me and you are that Coach Carter type. Yeah. You want to nurture, want to
Right.
help people. Dan is very much Wolf of Wall Street, the difference between type A and type B, extrovert and introvert. I love this sort of stuff. I love psychology. It's interesting, me and you are maybe cut the same sort of web in terms of even as much as talking about Vegas before we come on, I've been to Vegas a few times. It's a crazy place. Dan won't quite know the vices and the stuff that goes on in Vegas, but I do. Okay. Vegas is an amazing place, but absolute, those vices, temptation on every corner is hard. It's hard. And obviously that's a great thing to coach, isn't it? A great thing to talk to guys about is temptation, how to fight it, bigger picture, all that sort of stuff. Dan, before I come to you, I imagine a big question for you, Dan, in a minute would be, how do you market that? How do you resonate with mostly men, Kevin, I guess, over 40, where do you find these guys? What do you say? But Kevin, tell me a little bit more about that. What's the processes? What sort of conversations do you have with these guys? What's their like, I know we talked a little bit there about the temptations in family life, but what's the other challenges they have?
Well, so I try to tell every, man that I meet, even women, but for the most part, I know I relate more to men because of course, I'm a man. It's one of those things where we talk. It can just be as simple as a conversation. They tell me what they have going on in life. Like just recently, I had a friend of mine that recently passed away, but he was in a process trying to change his life. He was a very overweight man, trouble breathing and everything. Just recently, I've lost 50 pounds since February. I've gone to the gym. I started eating better, working out, just, being more self-disciplined and things like that. And it was inspiring to him. So we would have, late night conversations where we would talk. And, he had 4 kids. And he was like, man, I want to be here for my kids. I want to do this, but it's just so hard. And I just told him, I was like, it's one step at a time. You can't rush time. You can't do what I'm doing. Like I go to the gym. Yeah, I can go there and, do 20 minutes on a treadmill. For you, as big as you are, I just need you to walk across the street from your house and walk back. Start with that. Then the next day, maybe you can walk 2 houses. By the end of the week, you've walked 4 houses, and then in a month's time go by, you've walked through the whole neighborhood and come back. There's steps to this. You can't rush time. There's always a system that you have to have in place for yourself. There's always processes. There's always procedures you have to have for yourself. So that's something that, you know, unfortunately, like I say, he passed away, but he was really wanting to make that change. So anybody that I talk to, I tell them, what are the things that you want to do? Get your past. These are choices that you've made, but the choices going forward is what's going to, establish your life. The same thing I spoke at my friend's, homegoing, and I told everybody in there that he was trying to get better. And I said, us all here right now, you write your obituary through the people you affect in life. You don't write that yourself. You write that by how you live, how you treat people, how you were as a person. And that's how you be remembered. So how do you want to be remembered when you pass away? Do you want to be the person that made bad choices, was not there for your children, lived a self-destructive lifestyle? Or do you want to be the person that took life seriously, left a legacy for your children and your family? Someone they can say they're proud to have your last name. So that's a choice you have to make. So that's the thing I'm about: self-mastery, impulse control, and making choices. Choices that have repercussions, whether they're good or bad. So those are the things that I try to focus on and I try to master with my clients. And so far, so good. It's not a overnight process. It's not something that happens within a month, a week, or 2 months. You know, you have to take the wins as you get them. Something as small as I had an impulse to do this and I decided not to do it today. That's a win for you. You got to write that down and be happy about it. By the end of the week, you'll see I said no 25 times. I may have said yes twice, but I got 25 wins. You know what I mean? You got to be proud of that kind of stuff. So that's why I try to teach and have people understand that it's a build. And once you get there, you'll see it and you'll feel it. The people around you will start to see it. You'll be just fine.
Kevin, thank you so much for sharing. And first of all, I'm so sorry to hear that about your friend. Such a powerful story, and it makes me think about the importance of storytelling in this sort of business, helping people, resonating. And I could definitely see you as a basketball coach, that idea of 25 wins and 2 losses. I imagine that's basketball philosophy. It's not quite soccer or football philosophy that we have in the UK, but it's really fun. And I can see
Right.
that basketball
Well,
aspect,
coaching's
which
coaching.
is amazing. Yeah.
Coaching's
Yeah,
coaching,
it's true.
for real. It really is, coaching sports. No, it really correlates, coaching
It
sports
does,
and
yeah.
coaching people are it's the same thing. So I talked to a middle school about 2 weeks ago. I went to a middle school and talked to the kids. And of course, these kids are, 11, 12, 13 years old. They have no idea what a life coach is. They have no clue. So of course they asked me, like, what's a life coach? And I explained to them, I'm like, hey, the same way you have a basketball coach and a football coach. We go over practice, we put a game plan together, and then we send you into the game with that game plan. Now,
Love that.
if you execute the plan, it goes well, we should win. Now, sometimes the plan we have in place, something happens in the game where we got to change the plan on the fly. So my job is to coach you and prepare you for the game, and hold you accountable for the mistakes that you make. That's what I do as a life coach, and a lot of the kids they understand it when you make that analogy when you have sports as well as life.
I absolutely love that. So powerful. And I completely relate with that as well. A lot of my approaches are deep seated from what I've done in sport. I completely agree with that. Dan, I can see you're desperate there to ask a few questions. Definitely unpacking some of those market strategies, the sort of people that you're trying to reach out to. Dan, what's your what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I love that you've got so many like inspirational stories and you're honest as well about how it's not going to be an overnight change. Like a lot of coaches you'll see will be like, just pay me $3,000 and I can change your life in 3 weeks or whatever. And it just doesn't work. So obviously you know what you're doing and you've helped a lot of people, which is brilliant. So I'd love to know, what are you doing at the moment to find those people that you help? Where are you finding them?
So right now, I mean, right now it's a lot of word of mouth. Like, of course, you help people just being out and about. If I go watch a football game or if I'm at an event, networking events, just common people when you meet them anywhere. I'm going to my wife's job. I go to the gym myself and they see my shirt and they'll ask me like, hey, what does that mean? And I'll let them know, hey, this is what I do for a living, and I don't force it. At the end of the day, you're ready when you're ready. I could just let you know that I'm here when you are ready. So a lot of people I do get is word of mouth. Of course I do, my social media and everything. I have that going on. My speaking engagements really do help me a lot because I get to, talk about what it is that I do and be inspirational and be motivational. And then afterwards, people will come up to me and get my information and then they'll reach out. I always do a courtesy call, try to see like where you at, like a temperature check. Are you ready? Is this something that's for you? Do you really want to do this? If not, if you're not ready right now, it's okay. Come back when you are. This is a lifelong commitment. Being a master of yourself is not something that you just do for 4 months and then it's solved. This is a lifetime of work because life is going to life. You always got to have new normals. You always got to reinvent yourself. You always got to be, creative. That's why I say 40 plus and free because a lot of people think life ends after 40. Like, a lot of people are just wake up, go to work, come home, and they're waiting to die. And they're not living life. They're not going out here chasing the dreams that they had because they feel it's too late. I let them know it's never too late. I know people that's 65 years old that got their passport for the first time so they can travel. It's never too late. It's never too late.
I love that. I love that. Dan, I love the idea of the t-shirt as well. Me and Dan were jokingly talking when we were climbing a volcano the other day. We're talking about Coach Trap merch. What we Dan, and I love that. And it's a great conversation starter. It's an icebreaker, isn't it? What does the
Right.
t-shirt? What do you do? And Dan, I guess there's many ways you can use that sort of strategy, can't you, in social media? What's your take on that, Dan?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people get kind of scared when they think of marketing or social media marketing, especially coaches, because obviously it doesn't really come naturally to a lot of coaches. But I think it's pretty much, social media is just what you're doing at the moment, but at scale, at like a world scale. And it's kind of changing that mindset from, I don't want to force it, to, I want to kind of help more people. I want more people to see what I can give them. And if they do come to you, then that's perfect. It's kind of a win-win, right? So I think the easy things that I'm thinking you could do at the moment is the speaking that you're doing. Film it, put it on YouTube, turn it into clips, put it on LinkedIn, put it on Instagram, and that's just going to allow you to make the most of what you're already doing. Very little extra time, but you're obviously going to reach a lot more people and help a lot more people, even if it's just for free. And so I think that's the big thing that sticks out to me at the moment.
Really-
Cool,
Kevin,
cool.
actually, really interesting. Yeah, go on. What was really interesting is
No,
what caught my eye about you was a post on LinkedIn, something that you put. Looked like you were in like a radio studio or talking, and I loved the post, and I picked up something from it. So you're doing the work already. So you're out there a lot. I think what Dan's an expert at is repurposing. Openly say this, actually behind the scenes you'll be doing enough already. It's just how there's many ways to boil an egg, if that makes sense. But Kevin, do you have any questions for me and Dan, and anything that maybe you'd want to ask us about, about coaching in general, or the coach track?
well, yeah. So, I mean, I'm a person that, like I like to say, I like to be very self-aware. I know what my strengths are, and I kind of know I'm aware of what my weaknesses are. So, yeah, I am the whole social media thing I'm doing because I know I have to, and I want to. I love to get the message out there. I like to be vulnerable. I like to speak about what it is that I know. But like as of now, like the guy that I did the speaking engagement with, he's somebody I've known for a long time, and we're very clear about, hey, this is what we do. We speak, because like I coach, he's more into fitness and nutrition and things like that. I want to like have to hire a social media manager if I can, when I get to that level of funds, but right now I don't have the
Yeah.
budget for that. But, how do you get to have people that come in to help you, like you said, repurpose this stuff, film this stuff for you, have it to where they can make it clips, put it on YouTube and things like that to where it's, one, it's one of those things people want to see. It's not just a generic, you put it out there and hope people come find it. You have to have something that is going to catch someone's attention and catch their eyes and catch their mind. So my thing is like, how do I find someone like that that's willing to grow with me as well as we grow together? Maybe they already are established, or maybe they're not established yet. Maybe they're growing as well with their brand. And we can kind of, build a team. I feel like you have to have a team to be successful. That's the coaching me, exactly. You got to have a team. So my thing is I want to build a team. I want to have a team where I have my social media manager, I have my photographer, I have my, sound man, I have my, MC or whatever the case may be, to where, I have the person that helps me, put my stuff online to where I can get more clients and have more group sessions and have, things like that to where I can do things more at scale and not be as busy, doing individual clients. There's only so much time you can have in a day. There's only so many hours. So how do I build this and have my information to be, reusable to where, because I've seen like passion.o and all that stuff like that, but like something along those lines to where I could have something that I could have an 8-week impulse control course, about finances or, about anger or about relationships, and have you take those courses. Like, how did that I go about these things and do it in a, professional manner and do it the right way? I want it to be done right. This is not me. This is not no get rich quick scheme or I'm trying to just get paid. I really want it to be something that's useful that people can really use and get something out of and help them build their lives back up from wherever they're at in life. 'Cause I'm doing it. I've done it. I'm doing it right now still. I'm still putting that work in, and I want them to have something that's available to them to be able to do that.
Kevin, that's a great question. I think Dan is a master at this. He's the guy to definitely answer that. Then I can give you my own take, how I transform my business and how that will help you. But Dan, I think there's so much there to dive into. What would be your advice for?
Yeah, it's a big question. So with the social media manager thing, I think before that you've got to start somewhere. So it's not a massive kind of skill commitment. It's more of a time issue, I feel like, with social media. I don't think you need to like hire all these people to do it right. It doesn't need to be perfect on day one. And I think sometimes even when it's not perfect, that almost adds to it because it kind of shows a little bit of like a raw edge to you, which people are really drawn to, especially when it's like you're at that early stage and you're honest about it, and people can feel it and they're excited they want to be invested in that with you. With making the clips and stuff like that, obviously AI is a big thing now, and it's kind of replaced a lot of the jobs that a social media manager would do. So it's obviously a lot cheaper to do that kind of thing. So for me and Greg to turn like for example, this podcast, turn that into maybe like 20, 30 clips, we'll use Opus Clips, an AI tool. You can Google it after this, which turns it automatically into a lot of clips for us. We use them on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn as well sometimes. And that just kind of saves us like a lot of hours of clipping up podcasts or sending them to someone else and paying them. And we can just do it ourselves for, a monthly subscription fee, very small, for Opus Clips. So that's one area that I would say you don't need to hire anyone for. You can kind of do it yourself for now. With getting like kind of the message right, I think you doing it yourself is actually beneficial because that's going to allow you to get your own message across, get your own personality across, and it's going to allow you to attract the right people that actually get on with you and will kind of recur as customers for months on end. So you can help them better and you enjoy helping them and you get paid for longer. So it's kind of a win in all areas. But yeah, I think, have you got any like specific questions within that? Because it's a big question.
Yeah, I went all over the place. I understand that. Yeah, it was because you said hey, ask, so I just asked away. Whatever came to mind, I asked. But yeah, the main thing is definitely the clips, and I do want to get a YouTube channel going. I think YouTube is the way for me to really get my wording out, my message out, because social media, as far as like my Instagram and LinkedIn and TikTok, things like that. I feel like those are like more like people you already know or you you very rarely get people that, are new to what you're doing. These are people that you've already met over the years, that you've met over time, that kind of support what you're doing, but they're not client potential. They're more so supporters, which is, I think, is a very different thing. I think on YouTube, you kind of get a following to where they support you, but that's also monetizable. And as well, it gets it out more. It gets it more, I think, more worldwide. I think so. YouTube is where I want to be at. How do I make sure, or how do I get my channel going on YouTube? I was just say, yeah.
I hope that's
Okay.
That's good.
Like that.
Kevin, me and you have got a lot of similarities. As being a guest on our show, me and Dan will write you a sales order. By the way, we sell it. If you're prepared to, come into our X community, I'll write this all down for you, every single step. Okay, so me and you had the same problem. When I started as a coach, I had the craziest job on the planet for 15 years. I left that. I had coaching clients through word of mouth. I realized it was a lot harder to put that on the internet and to expand it, right? It wasn't about money. It was about purpose for me, right? And I wanted it to work. I tried everything. I have had marketers on every single level that you can imagine taking part in my image, trying to sell a life coaching journey. And it worked, but it didn't work as well as I wanted it. And there's a reason why it did work. It was too shiny. Okay, so you're from the US, I'm from the UK. We speak the same language, and sometimes we have slight differences. Okay, shiny, I don't think sales and coaching, stories do. Yeah, being authentic, being real. You have that in abundance. You have that. So that was a big difference to me. Dan slid into my DMs a long time ago before the coach track and said, I really like your message, but I think this could be better. This will work for you. And it wasn't about being salesy. He was really honest with his feedback. And the advice that he gave me changed everything. We realized that one, if I was authentic, if I talked from the heart, if I talked with my proper accent, didn't have imposter syndrome, all that sort of stuff, I would relate to a small tribe, not trying to go viral, which a market will get you to do. Okay. But getting you to resonate with a small amount, a tribal feeling. Yeah. Dan signed his first client after 30 followers on X. Amazing story. And that goes to show it's not about going viral, it's about resonating with a certain type of person, stopping the scroll. On top of that, we worked out that when I put everything out, I didn't quite like everything. I didn't like the way I was being portrayed. I didn't like how it was done. So with YouTube in particular, I've had someone try to do YouTube for me. I realized I'm better at doing it myself. With email marketing, I've had someone do that for me. I realized I'm better at doing it myself, okay? Sometimes it's great to export some things, but some things you need to keep, okay? It's like the difference between writing with AI, Dan, isn't it, on LinkedIn comments and doing it yourself. What I would suggest to you is that you've already said this. When it comes to coaching, there's a difference between a want and a need. A want is we all want to work online. We all want to have a few clients. We want to whatever, have purpose. But a need is I need this to work. Yeah, it's bigger than me. I need my mortgage. I need this for my family. I need this for my destiny, whatever it might be. Okay. Once you have that, okay, and that's me and you as a coach and talking together. When you have that need, that inner drive, you'll be so surprised what you do to achieve it. That going above and beyond, posting every day. And for me, a golden rule that no marketer can teach you. And this is something that me and Dan worked out. It's 10% content, 10%, 90% DMs. The real value in this, Dan, isn't it? Is building relationships. And that would be my biggest advice to you on LinkedIn or X or YouTube. So whatever it is the content's one thing. That's great, but you need to chat. And you obviously are master at that and doing that in person. So it's translating that from, what you're doing in life to putting it on person. Dan, what's your thoughts on that? Do you agree? Was there anything that maybe you would add to that?
Absolutely not. Like I said, like you said, I'm being more passive than aggressive.
Yeah.
And maybe I should be, which is, which I think it's funny you say that. Like my mother is a assemblywoman. I helped her get elected last year. And you know how I helped her get elected? I went door to door and I canvassed for her. Knocked on doors. Hey, have you heard about so-and-so? She's running for assemblywoman in your district. This is what she's about. Can we count on you for your vote? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I went door to door for like hours doing this for her. So I'm sitting here thinking, like, as you were saying that, I'm sitting here like, why can't I do that for myself? Like, what's the difference? You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Obviously, I'm not a big, go to somebody's house that's a stranger and just knock on their door. But I did it because that's my mother. I love her and I want her to be successful. So why can't I do that for myself? I love myself. I want to be successful. So why can't I do that same thing for myself? So that is great advice. So now that's something I have to learn. Like, it's not just being like in your DM, like, hey, how you doing? I'm Coach Kev. Like, what's up? I'm sure there's a way to, send a message it's like a
Yeah,
cold call in a sense. So
absolutely.
I'm sure you guys have advice on how to do that. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Dan, this is something that we can speak about all days. On LinkedIn, you can send 50 messages in one message 50 times to 50 different first connections. But what you need is something like a hook, Dan, isn't it? Something that they're going to nibble at. We call this the bird of paradise dance. We have the podcast, we have a book, we have an audio course, a community, whatever it might be. But what you're talking about with that door to door is building relationships. Is people might see an ad. This is another reason why marketers don't necessarily work, I think, that well in the coaching space. Is they'll put out a flashy ad, it'll be too shiny. People don't buy it, yeah. But people want to build relationships, right? Like what you did with the door to door. They bought into you because of the vibe that you give, vibrating at that level. Everything that goes into that, you know. What's your thoughts on that, guys?
A lot of people, I don't
Right.
think you can
Yeah,
send
yeah.
and it's
Right.
Kevin, I've got a
I
good
like
one
it.
for you. Thank God my wife doesn't listen to this podcast. Thank God she's not in this building that I'm in. The way I see it, and I've openly spoken about it before to other people, Dan, isn't it? Is what you do if you see a good-looking person at the bar. You don't just go up to them and offer to take them home. There's a chat up line. There's an offer to buy them a drink. You dance with them on the dance floor.
I
The
see
bird
where
of
you're going with
paradise
that.
dance.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's many ways to like nurture them in. So for me, it's like, you know, Kevin, meet you from the same sort of era. Dan, maybe not so much, but back in the day, there was no Tinder, there was no Bumble, there was nothing. We had to go and approach people in bars.
Absolutely. Yes.
And DM strategies,
Absolutely.
for me, is the same concept. You know, like if you're really direct, buy my strategy, the same as come home with me, it's not going to work. There has to be an element of drink, a dance, you know, showing off your nest, as we call it, Dan, don't we, in the bird of paradise dance, and then coercing them to come in. Not coercing, a terrible word. Convincing them to come in, I'd say, is a much better word. But Kevin,
You have to
thank you
gain their
so
trust.
much.
You
That's
got to
it.
gain their
That's
trust.
it. That's it.
Yes.
And you can put
Exactly.
that in a basketball analogy, you know, in a coaching analogy. Now, there's so many we could use for that, isn't there? In terms of like, you know,
Exactly.
that's it. That's it. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us on the Coach Track podcast. Where's the best place to find you?
Okay. So all my socials are at KingKev43. If you want to email me, it's kingkev@gmail.com. You can reach me on there. And like I said, I have LinkedIn, I have Instagram, I have TikTok, I have Facebook, I have all the socials, I have X as well. And yeah, KingKev43. Free to find me, hit me in my DMs. I will definitely respond. It's me. I don't have, like you said, I don't have a social media manager or anything like that. You will be directly contacting me for, you know, anything. If you want me for coaching or speaking engagements, I'm your guy. Feel free.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. And for those that are listening, whatever you do, don't fall into the coach trap.